Hello, everyone. Welcome to my page. We're going to go over my HTML that I've done for this page. Every component within my library, we're going to look at the HTML for it. We're going to start off. The first component we're going to look at is going to be a header that I created. Um, we go to the HTML. The header, basically what I end up doing, I started with using the header tag because this is a header. So what other tag use but the header, since it is a header. Inside the header, we look at the H1 tag, which is the header tag that was used to create basically the heading of the topic of discussion, followed by a paragraph, basically just um, asking um, basically, or letting you know what somewhat you could do, or basically it's talking about the billiard club, and basically they're supporting. It's a supporting paragraph that follows the heading. Um, then if you go back and look at the header, it has a navigation area set up within the header. After I did the heading H1, I came back and I used a navigation tag to use the list items within the navigation of the actual header. That's pretty much it for the header. We can go back and look at this flowchart, but basically talks about how to set up your HTML elements within a page, basically. And we'll start and we'll see that this a major navigation block or whatever, and go through this, and basically it helps you decide or tell you what is best to use. But again, like I said, I end up using a header because this is a header. I use a header tag. This is the block of H1 or heading that is basically talking about within this header with the supporting paragraph tag that tells you to basically relax playing billiards. Then the navigation area. My next component would be an actual navigation. Now, actually, being that this is an actual navigation, I went in. If we go look at the HTML for this component itself, um, this is a navigation area, so I chose the navigation tag, which basically, because this is a navigation, I just used a tag to signify that. Um, so it wasn't really a need to use any other tag, which I could have. I could have used actually. I could have put a section and then use nav, I guess, because it could have been a section of it is not, it could have, but it is a section of a page, which is a navigation area or section. So I ended up using the navigation tag instead. That's what I ended up doing. Um, Within the navigation, I use a header, which basically is the basic heading or topic of what this actual navigation area represents. Then I use the unordered list tag with the list tags within it to list the actual components or actual elements within that um, navigation area, which is basically simple home programs about gallery news contacts within this one navigation area. Moving forward, the third actual component I used was a testimonial section. Now, with this testimonial section, we can see that this testimonial section is a section. It's a part of a page that uh, cannot stand alone. It represents testimony people may have from visiting the site, so forth and so on. It gives the actual heading, which is testimony. Then you have a paragraph element, basically, which signifies something said by a particular person. Like, for example, this one, you know that it's talking about this young lady here because within the image you'll see there's a arrow tag that basically highlights for each image when that particular person message appears. So what I use for that particular for this particular element component or element was, again, I use a section tag to signify that it is a section. Then I use the article tag within that section tag that basically lets you know this is an article or part of a section that um, basically can stand alone. Um, it does kind of make sense on its own. If you go through the setup here and it tells you basically it actually doesn't make sense on its own. And the answer is yes, it can make sense on its own because it's a news article, web blog, a forum post, comment section, or comment on the article, sidebar widget, so forth and so on. So that's why I went along with the article tag within the section. Also, what I ended up doing was, like I said, this paragraph tag is used to represent the actual spoken word of the actual person. And this heading tag basically is the name of the person or the company that that person represents that's speaking on the topic of whatever testimony they're giving or whatever. Aside of that, I put the gallery of images basically in here on the figure because it is on the I use the figure tag for the images in this actual component. Um, and I kind of did this way, um, in which it signifies each image or each given person or company or whatever that is actually representing that topic of discussion there. Then I came and finished that off with page up. We use a paragraph tag to represent this A tag, which is the page up within the page within the element here on the side that basically is an element of this component that will take you back up upwards to the beginning of the actual web page. The next component was the latest news um, component, and basically it's a news feed. So this actual news feed, um, because it's basically something that is not able to be on its own, and it basically represents another area of a page or whatever. I ended up going in and using an aside tag within this element here, basically to because it's a component that or that sets us beside another component within a web page that represents that particular area and gives news on that particular area or company or whatever. So I use an aside tag because it's basically that's what it is. It's an aside. You go here, it asks you if you follow the questions, is it a major navigation or block? No, it's not. Does it make sense on its own? No, it doesn't. Um, is it required to understand the current content? No, it doesn't. So it becomes an aside, which is a sidebar comment section, a pull quote, glossary, advertising footnote, such as that is tangent, tangent to that is tangentially related to the page of or content. Generally, the aside tag, I have the heading of that actual aside. Then I use the time tag because this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a block of time. The paragraph tag, which lists the actual day. Then another tag that answers the month and the year, which this is also not the day. It's actually the actual particular news. Actually, let me look back. I think that might be the day. Yeah, it's the 3rd of December 2014. So it's actual date. And so with that being said, you use the time tag to display your dates within it. And within that, you're going to see the date, the month and the year, then the heading of the actual article or news article, then a paragraph listing the actual paragraph or write-up about the actual article. And it is a couple articles because it's another article within that side that is on a different date. So you do basically the same thing within that second article, and you use a time element to because you're dealing with a block of time, and you list that you had another topic within that block of time. This is why I mean, you know, like I said, it's an aside article. It's an aside. Then you put article tags and stuff within there to signify that this is an article within the actual side. Then it's a time block in there that we need to deal with. The next component, if we move forward, is a gallery of sorts. With this gallery, you're going to see this gallery has a couple things that within this gallery. Um, it gives you pictures and names of the. This is from a fighter webpage, and this fighter webpage here in the gallery gives you a picture of whoever the fighter is. It gives you the name of the fighter, who he's got to come up, who's he's the person, the actual fighter is fighting the next fight, and it gives you a list of rankings within this and within the gallery itself. Then it gives you a page, previous or next page, um, where some different fighters may, fall up and be listed or whatever. So with this page, with this element, what I ended up using, because it is a section of the actual of a web page, it's not something that is just by itself. It's a section of a page. I use a section tag. Then I came and use a heading, which is for the rankings. I use this heading within this excuse me. I use this heading to signify the rankings, and then I put the rankings in an unordered list type fashion, which breaks all of the names of the actual fighters and put them in a ranking situation. This was a H4 heading that I used for this actual for the rankings because it wasn't something that was in. This wasn't the actual. This wasn't the actual number one heading that was in the section of the page. It was just an area of the page that they decided to list within to, give you an idea where the fighters rank. Actual main heading was I used the H2 tag, which is a verse, which they use verses to signify what this gallery is all about. It's about the fighters and who they're fighting and their ranks and so forth and so on. As far as the images, I put those images the within the figure tag, and within that I use the image tag to write up the images, and then to do the names I use a heading, which is the heading of the picture. Basically, I use an H5 heading tag that signifies the name of each fighter. Then at the bottom I use the paragraph tag with the A tag to represent the previous page and the next page. I didn't use images um, for the previous and the next tag here because I plan to develop that within the CSS because what I decided to do was not use um, an actual image but a background image because it is not actual content, so I can use it as a background image. So I got a couple other areas within different other components where I didn't use actual pitch images because those actual things are not, again, necessarily content. So it's no point in using the image tag. It's better to just go ahead and use a background picture, a background image for the actual component or element. So that's what I did with that particular component. Then we'll move forward and go to the sixth element component in my library, and that's a footer. And this footer is basically, it gives a logo of sorts, along with some networking or contact ways that you could, you know, get with or follow along the actual company through Instagram, through social media, Instagram, Google Plus, Twitter, Facebook, so forth and so on. Then it gives you more or less a privacy policy and a copyright for the company who designed this actual, what designed the actual web page and who it represents. What I did, I ended up using the footer tag because this is a footer, so it wasn't a real need to use anything else but a footer because it represents exactly what it is. Within that footer, I have a H1 tag, which signifies this is the heading of this actual footer, which talks about the actual company. Then a paragraph tag, which puts in perspective what that company does or who that company is. Then it had like some areas where I use unordered list for the actual social media um, areas where they can be contacted or clicked on and joined or whatever. And here's one of those times where, again, I didn't use an image, although you may see an image here within the footer. I used I'm going to use background images, and because it's not actual per se content that, so I can't use it like a background image to represent those words instead of using the words within the actual as content. Then before it completes, it is another paragraph tag, which um, you know labels the company. It puts its privacy policy in a clickable area where it'll bring up that privacy policy or take you to their privacy policy by using the A tag. And that's what I did for that particular component. Now we move forward and go to the next component. That next component is a blog area. And if we go in here and look, we'll find that you could see a web blog or post within an article tag. So this is the tag I eventually used, which was, because it was a web blog. It is a blog, so that's why I used that. Now, what I did, I put it in a section because although I use an article tag within here, I started with the section because the blog is a section of a page. It's not something that's done alone. It's a section of a page. Then I put it in a header tag, which lists the title of what it is, which is a recent from the blog. So it just talks about the recent items added to this particular blog. Now it had like 3 or so article tags that I use within here, which breaks up the articles that are within this actual component, which you have a section where Linda Gray has an actual blog about whatever, gives the title of the blog and the paragraph about the blog, gives the date of the entry and so forth of the blog. So what I did was I used the article tag, then I used the figure tag to put the image within the figure tag of the person. Then I put a header tag, who she is, to put her name within there. Then um, here we go. I use a time tag to put in a time. A header tag for the actual title of the blog. Then a paragraph tag to put the paragraph about the actual blog. And I did that on the next three elements because that's what they're the same thing with just with different people, Sarah and Adam. And again, it gives an image of who that person. It talks about, gives their name, it gives you a time and their article or blog that they're talking about with the paragraph of the actual thing they're talking about. And the last thing I did another article which signifies or puts to the side the services that are offered and stuff that is also a part of that particular area section of that component, which is it gives an our service section. It gives a list and an unordered list of all the things that they do, service or whatever and stuff, and that's talked about within these blogs and stuff. So that's what I did with that particular component. The next component, which is number 8, is an about section. This section is about work, the work this particular company does. I use a section tag because this is a part of a section of the web page which lists or talks about the particular work that that particular company does. We go look at the HTML, which is a section. Then I break these up into articles, which, if we go back and look at the actual stepping flowchart of the elements within the web page. Again, we say, is this a major navigational block? No, it's not. What is navigational block? It's a site or in-page navigation. Anything you use to skip to nav or link it for. So it's not. So does it make sense on its own? Yes, each one of those does make sense on their own. So it's where we use the article tag. What we're talking about in the first article, you can see we got a picture. So I use the figure tag. Then we got a heading of that picture. What is the title? What is this thing talking about? What does it represent? Electrical. Then it gives a heading of the actual, you know, thing that particular job does, and a paragraph about that particular job. And it does the same thing for the next two um, areas of topic. Like this one's electrical, this one's plumbing, this one's carpentry, and that's basically it for that section. Section 9. If we scroll up and see, well, component 9 actually, we're going to do a contact form. This contact form is very simple. It's a form, so I use the form tag and input tags because the input tags are used to create a form. Then I use a button tag to create, which I didn't actually use a button tag. I ended up using a paragraph tag for the send button, but I'm going to create an area, make this button a navigational point within this actual page and to design it in CS and make it so you can navigate to send this form off. Then I got a page up or page top for button here that will be used as well. Now let's go over and look at the HTML. Again, contact form is a section of a page. It's not by itself. It is the section of the page. Then I use a heading tag to signify that the fact that, or give the title of what that section is. Okay. Then, of course, again, I said I use a form because this is a form. It's a sort of form that we use to create this actual part of the page. So I use a form tag and inputs so that are used within the form. And then again, like I said, I use a paragraph and a tag to create the submit or send section, send button. outside of that, I use a paragraph tag and an A tag to create that page up area. That's pretty much it for that. And we go to last but not necessarily least is a call to action form. This call to action form basically is an area where they want you to get feedback from everything you saw or visited within that particular site, or with that particular company. And again, with this actual, I'm gonna end up using a heading tag that names the section. I'm gonna use a section because it is a section of a page. Then I'm gonna use the heading tag of feedback to let you know the title of what this page is all about. Then, of course, a paragraph tag to basically run down some more information about the feedback. Then, of course, the inputs for all areas that you would like to see answered are inputted within that form. And then, again, I use the paragraph and A tag. Then later on, I'm going to create or design that particular paragraph. I'm going to design it as a button using CS background. And that's pretty much it. As you see, everything I just said is actually formed in the actual HTML. So that's that with that. Again, these are all the components that I have for the week. I've already got the HTML. We went over the HTML with you. If we look at this flow chart helps us out to decide why and when to use those particular elements, what time to use them. And I really use this actual flow chart to help get to what I did with using the components as I use them, and also from different things that we got from instructor or Professor Bloom. So this is what I did. Hope you guys like it. Any comments or critique that you like to offer, I'm all ears. Thank you guys for listening, and see you prepare for next week. Thank you.